What's poppin', Monster Hunters? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoilers Show. Spoilers for Monarch Legacy of Monsters Episode 6 are coming your way faster than Godzilla can hurl a Titan telephone at some science nerds, because this right here is a breakdown of that very episode. An episode that features the newest emergence of the King of Monsters in direct response to a new and massively dangerous piece of man-made technology that allows anyone to make a collect call to a killer kaiju with convenience. So let's just go ahead and talk about it, gang. The episode starts with us back in ye olden days of 1955, the year most famously known for being the year that Marty McFly would arrive in a time machine to get hit on by his mom. Lots of therapy after that one, probably. Like, I kinda wish Marty McFly took his guitar shredding talents on a tour to the American Defense Industry Federation's 1955 ball in Washington, D.C., because the music there needed that McFly spice, you know what I mean? Like, Marty would have for sure found a way to make that army band's rendition of 1925's I'm Sitting on the Top of the World by Ray Henderson, Joe Young, and Sam Lewis a lot cooler than it came out on the show. But I really do like how they started this particular episode with that song, because it kind of fits in with the overall direction this episode and the overall series is headed. Because the lyrics of that song go, I'm sitting on top of the world, just rolling along, which I believe could also refer to how Godzilla sits on top of the planet Earth as king of all monsters and life, just rolling along the surface of the planet Earth via mysterious means that Monarch have been trying to decipher ever since Keiko, Bill, and Lee founded Monarch all those years ago. And the lyrics continue later with, yeah, I just phoned the parson, hey pa, get ready to call, which fits quite well considering that this episode features Kate and Kentaro's pa, Hiroshi Randa, getting ready to call Godzilla with a miniaturized modern-day version of the Titan phoning gamma radiation simulating device created by Dr. Suzuki in 1955 in order to summon Godzilla from the depths of the Earth. But anyways, the banner at the party also tells us that the theme of this get-together of military minds is Bali High, which is of course the name of the fictional island popularized in the 1949 play South Pacific, in which Bali High was perceived as a tropical island paradise by nearby military personnel in that story. Actually, fun fact, a few years ago, I actually did sound for an entire production of the play South Pacific, so I know that play quite well. In that story, Bali High was perceived as a tropical island paradise where you could meet the woman of your dreams by nearby military personnel in that story. So the American military throwing a Bali High themed party 6 years after that play became super popular is very fitting for that time period. But at the same time, the theme of Bali High can also be seen as a bit of symbolic foreshadowing for the kiss that Lee and Keiko share on the monster island of Hararuma. But anyways, when Keiko and Lee are having a chat after General Puckett and his buddies hit Keiko with some 1955 style racism, Lee attempts to soothe Keiko's anxieties by telling her that she is a force of nature with the power to change people's minds. And I really love that line because it establishes a symbolic parallel between Keiko and Godzilla himself, as a force of nature with the power to change people's minds is exactly what Godzilla is as well, especially to Lee Shaw specifically. Because as we can see towards the end of this episode, the older Lee Shaw of 2015 has a completely different opinion about Godzilla than his younger self when he finally tells the group that he's been secretly working to help Godzilla this entire time. And it was Keiko herself who first planted the seed of change within Lee's mind all those years ago when her heart broke at the sight of the full might of the American military being used against a monster who holds no malice towards man. But after this, Lee and Keiko dance to 1940's You Stepped Out of a Dream by Gus Kahn and Nasio Herb Brown while a bunch of racist weirdos watch them. Then they have a conversation about their potential futures where Lee brings up the idea of being a career military man and making lots of babies, ideally with Keiko, which is a conversation that Keiko would refer to 4 years after this in 1959 during the car ride in Kazakhstan hours before Keiko got bugged out of existence, way back in episode 1. Then we shift to the modern day where it appears that Michelle Duvall has betrayed Monarch in order to free and join up with Lee Shaw. When she does, she reveals that Monarch is comprised of some of the best nuclear physicists, geologists, and zoologists in the world, before Shaw himself reveals that the motivations for what he's been doing are rooted in regret, specifically the regret of not doing enough to help Godzilla in the past like Keiko always wanted. Shaw seems to be going on a journey to honor the woman that he loved in the past while running from the very organization that became corrupted by military mentality because of one foolish mistake that he made because of that love for Keiko. But anyway, shortly after this, Michelle Duvall tells Lee Shaw that she joined Monarch in large part because her sister Sandra died during the kaiju attack in Genjira, Japan, which is a fictional monsterverse city introduced in the 2014 Godzilla film. In fact, Sandra herself was in that movie as well, because if you remember, Sandra Brody was the wife of Bryan Cranston's Joseph Brody, who died due to exposure to radiation at a nuclear power plant because a giant Muto kaiju from that movie was feasting on the plant's radioactive material. So, being Sandra's grieving sister, Michelle seems to have joined Monarch after that 2014 kaiju craziness and is still relatively new to the agency after only being there for around a year. However, despite Michelle being a grieving sister, this doesn't necessarily mean that she's completely telling Lee Shaw the truth here. I mean, she might be genuine about joining Lee to stop another Titan attack, considering that we can see tears well up in Michelle's eyes when she is vulnerable about her sister, but at the same time, last episode, we did see Duvall advising Assistant Director Verdugo and Tim that they let Kate, Kentaro, May, and Lee go in order for Monarch to keep them on a short leash and be able to follow them, while also seeing Duvall essentially threaten May into taking a traitorous deal. So there is a big chance here that Duvall has been walking the protagonists on that very short leash this entire time. But there's also the possibility that Duvall is merely using both Monarch and Lee in order to try to stop the emergence of Titans in her own way. But only time will tell there. Like, I honestly feel like Duvall will end up working with Apex Cybernetics down the road because those guys are a major force in Godzilla vs. Kong. Because those jerks end up making Mechagodzilla, which could be something that Duvall would want made to stop other Titans from emerging. But either way, Duvall is a super shady lady, man. But then soon after, when we head back to 1955, I love the huge smile Keiko has when Bill Randa says the words, "I don't know," because she had just told Lee Shaw at that party that her favorite thing about kids was their openness to admit that they don't know, combined with their eagerness to search for the truth. So that smile is definitely when Keiko started falling in love with Bill Randa's childlike science wonder, because a man like that would be able to produce an equally inquisitive child, which is exactly what Keiko and Bill Randa do with their son Hiroshi, a man who was too curious for his own damn good when he asked himself questions like, I wonder if I can summon Godzilla at will, and what does cheating on two secret families feel like? Whoops. But anyways, when Assistant Director Verdugo and Tim are trying to piece together the map the gang took from Hiroshi's San Francisco office, Tim channels his inner Columbo to discover that all the points on Hiroshi's map correspond to the Monarch outposts that Bill Randa had the most interest in his files, with all of these sites not so coincidentally having kaijus located near them. You know, like how in Godzilla King of Monsters we learned that Mothra was being housed at Monarch Outpost 61 on Infant Island in Indonesia, while Ghidorah was being housed in Outpost 64 in Baffin Island, Canada. While pointing to and naming the different outpost locations to Assistant Director Verdugo, Tim mentions another Outpost 4 on the American West Coast near California, an Outpost 15 near Japan, and an Outpost 47 somewhere near Australia, with that last one being super confusing to me for a few minutes, considering that episode 4 revealed to us that Agent Barnes was stationed at Outpost 47 in Utah. So I was like, aha! Timothy the monster nerd made a mistake and I should have his job instead. What an idiot. But it turns out I was the one that was being the idiot, because apparently there's a Utah in New South Wales, which for sure resides in that Oceania region that Tim was pointing to. So if you thought that Agent Barnes was chilling in America, think again. But anyways, back in 1955, Bill and Keiko head off to Hararuma Island, which is a Japanese island south of the mainland. But what is significant about this island in Legendary's Monsterverse is that it appears to be an adaptation of Monster Island, introduced in 1969's Godzilla All Monsters Attack and further expounded in 1972's Godzilla vs. Gigan. In the original Godzilla universe, Monster Island was of course the island that a number of Titan monsters like Mothra and Rodan lived on. But in this new Legendary Monsterverse, Monster Island appears to be Hararuma Island, which is just one of the many places on Earth kaiju can emerge from, likely due to all of those holes at all of those gamma radiation locations that lead towards the Hollow Earth, which is why monsters keep being found near all of Bill and Hiroshi's outposts outpost sites. They're all popping out of various hollow earth wormhole tunnels from within the planet that radiate a shit ton of gamma radiation when those portals are being activated. Though we are formally introduced to Dr. Suzuki's gamma radiation simulator in episode 6, we actually got a quick glimpse of the device on Monster Island all the way back at episode 1 when May is looking through the Randa files on her computer. But what's particularly interesting about Suzuki's gamma radiation simulator is that it very much feels like the predecessor to the similarly devastating Orca device that was central to the narrative of Godzilla King of Monsters in 2019, as Mark and Emma Russell's Orca device was also used to call kaiju to a particular location. But instead of gamma radiation, the Orca simulated the vocals of monsters in order to bait titans to the source of those simulated screeches. But anyways, in 2015, the gang make their way down to the Algerian desert to try and locate Hiroshi Randa. And oh my god, there he is, in the Algerian desert, just casually chilling in his pickup truck with his mini gamma radiation simulator, completely forgetting how to give his family a goddamn phone call. But honestly, now that we know that Hiroshi has been experimenting with a gamma radiation simulator to bait kaiju to his location, that would sort of explain why he's been completely avoiding his family, especially given his frantic reaction to seeing his kids for the first time in forever. Like, this man definitely wanted to keep his family safe from his line of work in more ways than one, because he couldn't well experiment with such a device around the people that he loved or any sort of populated area. But anyways, after Godzilla emerges and lets out his classic scream, the Monarch helicopter that was carrying Tim and a bunch of Monarch goons bumps into Godzilla like a bunch of dinguses and is sent crashing off screen, with Lee Shaw later confirming that nobody on the helicopter survived the crash. However, if you look at Lee Shaw's hands when he's walking from the wreckage, you can see that this man is brandishing a gun, definitely making me feel like there's a chance that Lee might have killed any surviving Monarch agents in that helicopter, even Tim, but that has yet to be seen. But that is it for this breakdown of Monarch Legacy of Monsters episode 6. Like, I truly hope that Kate can find a way to forgive May after her betrayal, because those two have grown super close over the course of this show, and I'm really hoping that they get together by the end of the narrative, because they have been extremely supportive of one another. But regardless, let us know what you guys think is going to happen in the next episode and in the future of Monarch in the comments section below. You can follow me at Mastertainment on Twitter, Instagram, or wherever I am on the internet, especially on the Guardians of the Galaxy podcast here on YouTube, where you can see me, my friends Whitney and Tommy talk about some really fun nerd stuff. But most importantly, you can follow Heavy Spoilers here on YouTube, and do not forget to hit that notification bell so that you can get notifications every time we upload a video. And hey, leave this video a like if you liked it, because that really helps out the channel as well. But again, thank you guys for watching. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Please be kind to each other, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.